All right, so we're live on Facebook now.
Good evening. Sorry for the delay, but the Monday, August 30th school committee meeting will come to order. Could a roll call vote, please? Madam Superintendent.
So, Mayor DiMaria,
Here.
Ms. Lambert,
Present.
Ms. Murray. Here. Mr. Panarisi,
Here.
Ms. Sarni,
Here.
Ms. Cardello,
Here.
Mr. Barros,
Here.
Chairman Parker,
Here.
and Dinah Lewis,
Here.
and Mr. LaMonica.
And Mr. Epperse.
Mr. Evers.
How soon? Yes, I am here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 members present. We have a quorum, and Mr. LaMonica will not be making tonight's meeting as he has a previous engagement. So if we can all please rise and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item Roman number 3, reading of the record. State your point.
Chairman, unmute, please.
In light of the recent attacks in Afghanistan, Kabul, I would love to have a moment of silence for the, I believe, 13 Marines and other civilians who lost their lives. A great tragedy to our country.
Valid suggestion. Thank you. If we could all please rise and for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, item number 3, reading the records.
Make a motion to waive the reading of the records and place on file.
Second.
Okay, motion has been waived and seconded to waive the reading and place on file. Since we are having a live meeting and there is no school committee members participating remotely, we can have a voice vote tonight. So, motion is made and seconded to waive the reading and have placed on file. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 4, public comment.
Make a motion to open public comment. Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded to open it for public comment. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have opened up for public comment. If you care to participate, just have to state your name, and you have 3 minutes. So is there anybody, Mr. Joe, remotely?
And your address,
We
name and address.
we deleted that.
Oh, well. Never mind, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello, Mr. Forrester?
yes.
Hi. You are on public comment, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Ed Forrestier. I live at 117 Carter Street, apartment B6. like to discuss or ask or, put out there, are we receiving all the information that we are, given the times where students may be required to wear masks, mandates for these vaccines? Are we getting the information that the state or the federal government is giving to these people? Because I've noticed in the last several meetings where a lot of the information in which the school committee gets, we don't, get it personally. I know that you have a rule here, and I've noticed in the last several years that I've lived in Everett for 6 years, and I know that the DeMaria administration is very difficult trying to get information from. And since he's been a voting member of the board, I've noticed where a lot of stuff doesn't get out here. The school committee has in their rules in chapter 3 of the rules of order, section 5, it talks about all agenda items, records, communications, and other business shall be read to the school committee by the secretary. Reading the record may be waived by majority vote of the school committee. You don't vote to waive the readings of the communications you get. Now, are we getting information from the state, DESE, or any of those people, and you're not reading it? I mean, that's your own rule said we should read it. I don't think we should expect an interpretation by use of the school committee as to what's going on. We should read what the communications we're getting. You don't follow your own rules. And I've noticed that's happened since the guy in the corner office has come into being a voting member. So that seems to be a problem here. Are we, you're going to follow your rules, and any of the communications you get, are they going to be read so the public can know what's going on? You shouldn't keep this hidden from us. There's a lot of serious things in present day that are going on right now that you get communications. We should know what's going on. There's other things you could do, but when we watch these meetings, your rules specifically say that the communications should be read. Nobody's waived them. Just like you just did, you waived the readings of the minutes of the last meeting. You haven't waived these things. There have been meetings in the past where you have not read these things. Now, this is the chairman's, I think he should be the one speaking on it, but every member of the committee should be concerned about this. Your own rules. These are your rules. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Forrester. Is there anybody else calling in remotely that'd like to participate in public comment? Are we aware of anybody else that might be calling in to participate in public comment? With that, we do have some guests here tonight in attendance, and if they would like to participate in public comment, you're more than welcome. Is there anybody here that would like to participate in public comment? Okay, just one more time. Is anybody else that would like to participate in public comment? Okay, seeing none, either remotely or live. Ladies and gentlemen, your pleasure.
I make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded to close public comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Madam Superintendent, if you could start with report of the superintendent, number 5.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman, members of the school committee, and everyone watching at home. So we're going to share the presentation. Just give me a moment. All right, so we have come a long way as a district. And as a community. At this time last year, we were amidst many uncertainties that would follow us throughout the whole school year. And tonight is the eve of a new school year, and we are filled with renewed excitement as we prepare for a full-time return to school for in-person teaching and learning for all of our students and staff. Are you guys hearing feedback, or is that just me? So a few short hours ago, we held a very successful back to school bash in conjunction with the city of Everett, as well as a vaccine clinic overseen by the Cambridge Health Alliance and the Tufts Health Plan. We also had a visit from Governor Charlie Baker and Secretary of Education James Pizer, who visited the vaccine clinic and held a press conference inside the Crimson Cafe. It was a pleasure to join Mayor DeMaria in welcoming Governor Baker and Secretary Pizer to Everett and to Everett High. As for the back to school bash, it was a huge success, attracting hundreds of students and families for games, free food, ice cream, a photo booth, a video game truck. So thank you to everyone who attended and the many staff members who quickly organized this celebration as a way to garner interest in the vaccine clinic and to do something fun before the school year officially begins tomorrow. We also, this morning, welcomed back all of our staff to schools for a welcome back event this morning that featured an engaging and important presentation by Adam Strom, the Executive Director of Reimagining Migration, as well as an address from one of our former students. And so and also last week, we had several different events, pre-K premieres and freshman and sophomore orientation that I will talk about a little bit more later this evening. But thus far, we have been very excited and ramping up very quickly for the school year. So up first is an update on the safety guidance that has been put in place by the state and which we will be adhering to here in Everett. First and foremost, the majority of the health and safety requirements that have been issued by DESE in 2020-2021 have been lifted. So all schools are required to be in person full-time 5 days per week, and we are not offering remote learning. Face coverings will be required indoors for all K-12 students and staff, at least until October 1st, and this applies to everyone, even those who are vaccinated. The EPS will not be implementing any physical distancing minimums. We will continue to utilize air purifiers and ventilation measures as we did just last year. We will vigorously clean and disinfect our schools to the greatest extent possible. Other highlights from the DESE guidance include a new test and stay program, which will allow asymptomatic close contacts to remain in school and participate in sports and extracurriculars so long as they take a rapid antigen test daily, wear a mask, and follow other guidelines as noted in the guidance. If districts do not have the test and stay available, or an individual or family chooses not to participate, a close contact will need to quarantine at home for at least 7 days from the point of exposure. Again, effective immediately, public school students and staff in all grades will be required to wear masks indoors in schools, except when eating, drinking, or taking mask breaks. They will not be required to wear masks outdoors. And again, the mask requirement will be in place until October 1st. The commissioner will revisit the requirement in the near future to revise it as warranted by public health data. But as of now, after October 1st, if a school demonstrates a vaccination rate of 80% or more of students and staff in the school, then vaccinated individuals in that school would no longer be subject to the DESE mask requirement. So DESE again will be providing additional information to districts in the coming weeks in preparation for the October 1st date, including how to demonstrate that we have met the 80% vaccination rate threshold. Students also who cannot wear a mask for medical reason and students who cannot wear a mask for behavioral reasons are exempted from the requirement. And with our tremendous efforts, I think that have been working very well, our fight to stop and hopefully eliminate the threat of COVID-19 centers squarely on the vaccine. So we applaud every family that has been able to vaccinate their students, and we are happy to report that our numbers among school-aged individuals are actually higher than the state average, as you see in this chart. But we do need to continue to push forward. The state has set an 80% vaccination threshold before schools and districts can reconsider the universal indoor mask mandate. So we have our goal and we are quickly moving towards it. students between the ages of 12 to 15 are actually at a 61% vaccination rate as of at the end of last week. And that number jumps to 74% for our 16 to 19-year-olds. So we are well on our way. And I think efforts such as today's will definitely help us meet that goal. The work of the Everett Public Schools continued while students and teachers were away. Here we highlight the Parent Information Center and the 485 new students or family liaisons enrolled in the EPS over the summer. So this is an increase compared to last summer, which of course we did expect, particularly among our youngest students. So if we look only at pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, we had enrolled 60 students last year on August 26th. As of August 26th of this year, we have 303 pre-K students enrolled. And this just is to illustrate that our pre-K enrollment has bounced back from the historic lows of 2020. We will continue to monitor and provide updates on registration and student enrollment. This slide highlights all of the considerable work we've been doing to prepare for the school year, from training, mentoring, professional development, and school-based perspectives. So it's all been very positive and engaging as our district returns to the place it belongs, which is in the hands of our educators and leaders who bring their amazing expertise and thoughtfulness into our schools and classrooms. So our new teacher mentor program is for our new educators. And on Monday, Director of Remote Learning and Instruction Ann Auger led a training session for mentors designed to help them model instructional excellence and inspire mentees to reach new heights and learn new capacities. We're also offering an optional mentor program for paraprofessionals and substitute teachers, and this is being designed to strengthen and diversify our employee pipeline by supporting our existing staff members who have the passion and ability to become a teacher. So we are working to procure MTEL exam and MTEL preparation course waivers for those who complete the mentor program to even further support our aspiring teachers. Last week, we also held a new staff orientation for teachers, paraprofessionals, family liaisons, managers, and administrators. The schedule included welcoming activities and training, including introductions from myself, our leadership team, a presentation on policies and procedures by Director of Human Resources, Frances Canty, training on the evaluation process, and a full day of professional development that was focused solely around providing positive, healthy, and inclusive practices. And that was provided by experts at Blackprint Consulting. So new teachers and guidance counselors also received presentations as well by Community Engagement Manager Jeanette Velez, Data Manager Curtis Tudin, and SEI Coach Marissa McQueenie, who led training on using and managing Clever, our digital classroom and single sign-on portal. Additionally, our content leaders outlined our instructional vision and expectations. And finally, new teachers and guidance counselors met with their mentors, set up their classroom workspaces, and attended school-based orientations with their principals. From August 23rd through the 27th, we offered voluntary acceleration academies at our elementary schools. School leaders extended invitations to 381 students, and more than 210 attended the 5-day program. Our staff was very deliberate in reaching out to families in a variety of ways, from phone calls to emails to messages through Dojo. We would have liked to have seen more students attend the program, although families understandably have a lot going on as the summer break comes to an end. But overall, we had huge success with the acceleration academies, and we will be sure to maximize the best times of the year to offer them during school year vacation weeks, for example. Students were selected for the August Acceleration Academy based on a range of assessments, as well as input from teachers and guidance counselors. Schools did have leeway in tailoring the program to help meet the needs of their students. Instruction was offered in reading and math, and progress was monitored using a variety of methods and products, from Project Read to Lively Letters Quick Phonics Screener, Inspired Decodable Readers, among others. One example of how we tailored it at each school is at the Cavarian, for example. The focus was on math acceleration for rising 8th graders and an early literacy academy for rising 2nd graders. So the Acceleration Academy staff and building administrators met multiple times leading up to the start of the program in order to select students who could benefit from that intensive program. So as I mentioned last week, we started what we hope will be an annual tradition when we hosted fun family events for our pre-K students for the Adams and the Webster Extension, as well as the kindergartners and first and second graders at the Webster School. So we had celebrations on 3 consecutive nights, attracting more than 400 students and family members. We provided fun activities, games, arts, crafts, a bounce house, food from Texas Roadhouse, and giveaways. For 2 nights, I had the pleasure of overseeing the prize wheel, which gave me the chance to meet with dozens of families and students in a relaxed and festive atmosphere. And again, it was just really nice to be back amongst students and families. Sometimes success is simply measured by how much fun you have. And I know that our students and families and staff had a very enjoyable time at these inaugural events. It was great to see people connecting with each other, our teachers and building leaders, our community engagement manager, Jeanette Velez, our family liaisons, and other members of the district. And these are the kind of gatherings that we could not hold last year, which made these all the more enjoyable this year. Much of the work for what we labeled the premieres was actually done by our interns and EHS students who we introduced to you earlier this summer, Jaslyn, Kayla, Sam, Nick, Samaga, and Gabby. These students worked very closely with our central office staff, with Deputy Superintendent Kim Tsai, Administrative Assistant Denise Cardello, in planning the various aspects of the premieres. And in addition to our interns, our EHS student ambassadors helped support families and students last week as well. I want to also thank the custodians who worked the events and provided transportation to and from Everett High for our interns and ambassadors. At Everett High School, we held an orientation for our incoming 9th graders and 10th graders on Friday of last week. Freshmen visited EHS from 9 to 11, while 10th graders were scheduled from 12 to 2. Turnout was exceptional, and I commend the EHS administrators and staff for organizing such a fun and useful event for our high school students. It was great to see so many students at once and to hear the buzz in the high school again, which was very familiar and very welcome. The highlight of the sessions were scavenger hunts, in which groups of teams led by a student ambassador had to make their way to different locations around EHS. I had the pleasure of presenting gift cards to the winning 9th grade team, digital notebooks to the winning 9th grade team, and gift cards were given to the winning 10th grade team. And the hundreds of students who attended were also presented with a handful of free items, including EPS backpacks, binders, pens, and other school supplies. And lunch was also provided by the Chicken and Rice guys. So again, thanks to all of the EHS educators and staff who are on hand for the orientations to help answer questions and to interact with our students. So beginning on September 1st, the EPS will start a free month-long after-school program for students in grades K through 8. We are calling it the September Enrichment Academy, and we will offer sessions at the Madeline English, Cavarian, Lafayette, Parlin, Webster, and Whittier schools. They are being staffed by EPS teachers and staff, and enrollment is currently open on our website, and school staff and family liaisons will help sign up any families that are still interested who have not yet signed up. The first full month is a very crucial one, especially for students as they're transitioning back to school in any year, but especially after last year. So our Enrichment Academies will offer small group tutoring, help in organizing folders, binders, assistance logging onto digital learning platforms, chances to interact with peers, social emotional support, and also academic support. The Academy will run every day that school is in session from 2:45 to 6 p.m. and families can sign up for 1 to 5 days depending on what works best for them. And after, this is just a 1 month long, similar to our Acceleration Academies, but on a grander scale. And after this is over in October, we will begin our regular after school programming. And in closing, I just wanted to give a quick reminder about our opening schedule, which does wrap around the holiday weekend. So tomorrow is the first day of school for students in grades K through 12, and dismissal is set for 12 p.m. Students will be served breakfast and they will be given a grab and go lunch at noon. We will have full days on Wednesday and Thursday, September 1st and 2nd at the K to 12 level. There will be no school on Friday, September 3rd or on Monday, September 6th for Labor Day. And everyone, including our pre-K students, will report to school on Tuesday, September 7th. So I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Ms. Cadella?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the superintendent. So this program is for 1 month, and then after that, they just transition into the regular after-school program. If we have families that have a voucher and they don't use them for that month, will they have to reapply at the end of that month for the vouchers, or does that stay with them?
So that will all be taken care of through our registration process through the school. So they will, and again, the September Academy is free. So they will be provided that subsidy for the following month and throughout the rest of the school year.
So it will be okay to hold it over for a month?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the superintendent update? Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. So item number 2 is to request acceptance of the additional Chapter 70 funding of $637,175 that is based on the final posted state budget. So on July 16th, Governor Baker signed the FY22 state budget that increased the foundation budget for all districts. Everett's Chapter 70 aid was increased from $83,698,746 to $84,335,921, which is the increase of $637,175 that we are requesting acceptance of today. These funds will be used to fund additional staff like specialists to increase common planning time at our schools, and also to provide teachers and paras to staff 2 additional classrooms at the Webster Extension that were added due to enrollment increases.
Any questions or comments?
Nope. Make a motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the acceptance of the additional $637,175 in Chapter 70 funding. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 3.
Thank you. Item number 3 is to request acceptance of the ESSA grant, IDEA, and Perkins grant in the following amounts. So Title I for $1,853,074. Title II for $227,676. Title III for $319,796. Title IV for $128,678, and the IDEA grant for $1,969,686. Also, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act for $466,593. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act Early Childhood for $41,482, and the Perkins grant for $104,859. And as you know, these are grants that are federal funds allocated through statutory formulas that are based on primarily our census poverty estimates to ensure that all students are meeting their challenging academic standards.
Questions or comments on item number 3? In your pleasure.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Make a motion to accept the grants as described.
And second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded to move for favorable action and accept the grants as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. You've so moved.
Item number 4 is to request authorization to sign the contract for after-school programming. The principals of the K-8s and the Webster K-5 school looked at the RFP applicants with Ann Auger and Jeanette Velez using a rubric to determine that Alpha Best would be the winning bid. The group examined all application materials and scored the applicants using a common rubric. The rubric components were taken from the Center for Collaborative Solutions and the Community Network for Youth Development and included ratings based on the applicant's diversity, equity, and inclusion plans, staff development, youth development, meaningful relationship building, and physical and emotional safety programming. So again, this contract will be awarded to Alpha Best based on a review of the committee's scoring of the proposals submitted via bid process.
Comments, questions, number 4, Ms. Cadello?
Question. I thought in the past on an RFP like that, like I'm just going to use Whitson for an example.
You're on mute.
I'm muted. I'm sorry about that.
I thought like in the past, and I will use Whitson for an example because that's probably the most recent one, that the school board was allowed to see the scoring that was done for the rubrics. Are we going to be able to see that before we actually vote on that? Will there be time? I mean, when are they supposed to get started? Immediately?
I mean, we would like for them to start right after our September Enrichment Academy. As long as it is okay for us to, share the scoring rubrics, which it is, we can certainly pass those along.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
it might even be good to do that in a subcommittee meeting, not wait until, I know we're meeting again on September 7th, but if we wanted to do that sooner rather than later, and then we could vote on it on the 7th, if we could possibly have a subcommittee meeting this week to look at that so that we're all aware of, what we're getting into.
We can certainly get the rubrics out tomorrow. I don't see a need for a subcommittee meeting. And we could then, probably the appropriate motion is to postpone this matter until Tuesday, September 7th.
Okay, then I'll go with that. So my request is that, my motion is that we get the rubrics tomorrow and that we vote on this matter on the next regular meeting of September 7th.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to postpone this matter until September 7th, directing the superintendent to provide all the membership with the rubrics tomorrow. Any other questions or comments before we
Mr. Chairman.
vote? Mr. Barrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent, could you also send along, you just said verbally, but the list of professionals from the district that review the RFPs? I
Yes,
think would
absolutely. I think
would be important.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments, requests? Okay, the matter is to postpone this item until September 7th, which is next Tuesday, correct? I know I screwed that up today. Sorry about that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay, a little stronger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved. You're postponed until September 7th. Item number 5, please.
Item number 5 is to request approval of supplemental programming RFP. So this proposal allows us to advertise and seek proposals for a variety of supplemental programming in STEM, world language, college, and career preparation options, to name a few, that we can offer up to supplement our students' learning time. This would look very similar to many of the programs that we provided this past summer as far as enrichment and supplemental programming, including the program that was here earlier this week to present, which is our technology and agriculture program. So we'd like to be able to continue those authentic opportunities for our students, and thus we are putting forward this RFP.
Make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion made and seconded to accept the request for approval of the supplemental programming RFP. Questions or comment, Ms. Cadillo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was confused by this, and we did get the copy of the proposal today, but I'm still a little confused. This is supplemental to the after-school program?
Yes, so similar to the way we did this past summer, we want to provide a broad range of opportunities. So for example, this past summer, we partnered with the Everett Haitian Community Center. And so in order to do something like that, in this, even for like a shortened period of time after school, or even during a week that we were off, we would have to put it out for another bid. Otherwise, it's considered sort of bid splitting. So yes, it will be after school or supplemental time, like weeks that are off, but it kind of goes to all of these other partnerships that we want to have and programs that we want to provide our students. And we want to just make sure that we're doing it all in the most, appropriate way possible.
Okay. Excuse me if I'm confused. It might have been too much sun today and humidity at the blast outside here, but I'm still confused. If somebody has signed up for the after-school program, as we know it, from after school till 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever it may be. But yet they want to be part of this. How does that work?
So I'll give you an example from another school district that has like an after-school program that runs consistently throughout the year, and then maybe they may have a 6-week robotics program that comes in at no cost to the students. Then the students would be able to opt in to that program. And there will obviously be a transition period in that school building for them to go to, chess or whatever the case may be, not necessarily chess because that would be in our after school programming, but whatever that specified program is. And then they could travel back to the other program because a lot of those programs won't necessarily be for the full length of time. So for example, like the agricultural technology, we may run several different sessions with several different groups at different schools. So that way every school gets to benefit from it rather than it just being at one school. And then those students can kind of opt into it and then still, but not lose their spot in after school programming, if that makes sense.
Okay, that was my follow-up question. What happens to those students that are on a voucher for the after-school program and they want to take a week or 2 weeks for a specific program? We'll just go with robotics, if you will. What
Right.
happens to that?
So they are still technically enrolled in the after-school programming.
Okay, so
it's
the
almost like
voucher
going
will
to a
still take, so
specialty
the
class.
voucher doesn't stop for 2 weeks and they have to reapply. They're
Exactly.
getting paid even if the student's not attending the after-school program.
Which most likely they will be attending for a short period of time during that day, but yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Murray?
Okay, so just to clarify, I inferred, but I just want you to say it out loud. A child does not have to be in an after-school program to take advantage of these.
That's exactly right.
They can if they are, but they also can if they're not. This
Absolutely.
is going to be open to any Everett Public Schools child.
That's correct. And so it may be that it's just a 2-month-long program that a family wants to opt into, and so they could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the matter? Mayor DiMaria?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, so this is a separate bid that we're putting out? I'm sorry, I don't have is this a separate bid we're looking to put out for separate providers or different providers or?
Yes.
I know Keith Slattery was working maybe with you on this. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, you can't, so we have an after-school provider, right? That's for our full after-school programming. But that is different than having programs come in and partnering with them throughout the year. And we can't put it all under the same umbrella because they are 2 very different programs. However, we can't also just contract with the different partners because after you get to a certain amount of money, you're getting to the amount where you would have had to go out for an RFP. So it's considered bid splitting because you kind of put together a bunch of different programs still for the same service. And it's going above the amount that you would have to go out for an RFP.
So we'll be looking for different providers to provide different types of programming, and if it's the robotics, or if it's culinary, or if it's whatever may be.
Exactly, and I think
the after-school provider that has, I guess right now is technically won the bid. Will they be able to bid on this also?
I don't know that they are providing this. They provide the same kind of services that we're looking at. I think the best example would be something like the Everett Haitian Community Center that we partnered with this past year. If we wanted to partner with them for an after-school program, and they had an amazing program this past year, and they brought in the arts and music. They had brought in all their own instruments. So if we were to do something like that, we couldn't do it under our current RFP. And if we were to do it with several different organizations, because we do want to partner with multiple organizations to really start to broaden our reach in the community, that once again, you do that with several different organizations, even if you're spending $10,000 here, $10,000 here, once you get to a certain amount, it's considered that we spent this much amount on these supplemental services, so we should have gone out to bid. So they all have to fit under that umbrella.
Mr. Chairman, is there a vote to be taken on this item? Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I'm not in the position to vote for this, even though I would like to see as much programming as possible for our kids after school, especially, whereas, I've been an advocate of after school programming. I'd like to invite the Assistant City Solicitor and the Procurement Officer to our next meeting on the 7th, just to understand the whole after school procurement process, how it went, how the new vendor is being chosen, and now also of these new additional programs, how we're gonna, if that has, because Mr. Slattery and I had a conversation this morning. It was a quick conversation. It was kind of very busy, but I think I need just a little more time. I would like him to come before us. I don't believe he's here this evening or been invited. Before we start making votes on a new provider, which truly I'm not really happy about. I thought the provider that provided it for the last 15 years did a fine job, but that's here nor there right now. I do appreciate the wanting to work with different organizations and bring as many opportunities for our children as possible. I just want to make sure we're doing it right, especially when if I'm taking a vote on procuring contracts. I would like the city solicitor's office just to be involved, especially because there was an RFP that was put out. This is now a separate one. This is a separate bid. So, as the superintendent says, there are things that like bid splitting. I don't know if this, triggers that or not at all. I don't know if the former provider provided these certain services before, and the one that's now getting the contract doesn't provide these services, and now that's why we're asking for additional services. I just would like some more questions, and I honestly don't even have the agenda. If I can get a copy of it, it's usually on my desk. It's not here tonight. If someone can give me an extra copy, please, that'd be great. I don't know if one of the easy guys in public access here has one. But I would feel better if we can just postpone this to the meeting on the 9th, I believe it is. Thank you. Is that when it is, you said? The 7th?
Okay, so I heard a motion to postpone it to September 7th. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so we have two motions before us. Postponing takes precedent. With that, Mr. Barros.
So to my understanding, this is an RFP, right? That we are asking, that the superintendent's asking. We do have here with us our lawyer, the school committee lawyer, who I believe might be able to answer any questions regarding this RFP. I don't think we are voting on a particular vendor. My question would be to our lawyer, is this right? So that it's an RFP. Is there anything wrong that the school committee is doing in regards of authorizing an RFP to go out to bid?
Would you like to make a motion to invite Mr. Galvin to appear before us?
Yeah, if we can, I'd like to make a motion to bring Mr. Galvin before us to answer this question.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to invite Attorney Galvin to appear before us to answer some questions. Mr. Galvin, I'm sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. Just give us a moment while we set up Mr. Galvin.
So, can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Barros, questions of Mr. Galvin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Galvin, there is a request for approval for a supplemental programming, which means an RFP for after-school program. Have you seen this document? Is there anything wrong regarding this documentation or the school committee voting on approving an RFP to go out to bid?
I'm not sure, are you asking to approve the specific RFP that's in front of you tonight? Because the answer is, I have seen it. I had spoke to Anu a little earlier today regarding it. I was asked to edit it slightly. I probably do have a few suggested non-material changes. Sorry, my glasses are fogging up. The language changes that I would add would be standard form language changes, basically reserving the right in the committee to reject the bids in whole or in part if it's in the best interest of the city to do so. I didn't see that paragraph in there. And then adding in a few phrases that define some of the evaluation criteria, but these are edits that would probably take less than a half hour if I was taking a long time to do it.
All right.
It's in pretty darn good shape.
Okay. So it's totally fine for the school committee to vote out
I would say you could
RFP.
do it subject to the language being finalized by council and or the city solicitor.
Okay.
Whatever the choice of the committee is.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions of Attorney Galvin? No. Okay. We'll have him stay as we finish this piece. So there's two motions before us. One is to postpone until the 7th of September, which takes precedence over favorable action. On the motions, Ms. Cadillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's on the postponement. If I could request that Mayor Apology Maria repeat his motion so that we're all understanding what we're postponing and why we're postponing it. I think I know what he said, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear on it.
I think I could just say that he motioned his feelings to postpone, that he needs more time to research the matter and talk to people within his team, and also to us more time to amend the contract for the suggestions of Mr. Galvin too, when revisit it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Major Ray, would you like to add to that, or you're good?
My motion, if there's a second, to refer this to our next meeting and to invite the city solicitor, the procurement officer, and Mr. Slattery, who's been working on this contract for the last, 15 years, to our next meeting. That's my motion. I like Mr. Galvin, but he doesn't work for me. He's not the city solicitor. And I'd rather have the city solicitor here to tell us if what we're doing is correct. We probably are. Mr. Galvin's right. A half hour's worth of work to change a few things. So we're going to change those few things before we take a new vote, or do we want to just do it the right way once? I would rather do it the right way once.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Murray.
Just as a point of clarification, Mr. Galvin does work for you. He works for the school committee. He's our attorney. So he does, in fact, work for all of us. He's not the attorney of the superintendent or the attorney of the mayor. He's the attorney of the school committee. So he does work for us and by extension you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Mr. Barrows?
Thank you. That was exactly what I was going to say. So thank you for saying that.
Okay. So there's multiple motions to postpone here. And the mayor amended his motion to postpone by inviting the city solicitors and the procurement officer. Is there a second on that motion?
I will second.
Okay, so is there any other questions or comments on the two motions before us?
Well, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Barrows?
if the city solicitor and whoever else is coming, I'd like also to see our own attorney coming to the next meeting. So I would add to the motion.
Okay, so, you're
I'll second it with the amendment.
with the
of
amendment. Here we
adding
go.
Attorney Galvin.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you. So, Mr. Aprizay.
I'll be clear. Are we reaching back to number 4 here in terms of this postponement and the city solicitor? Or is the city solicitor coming here strictly for number 5 in terms of the supplemental programming RSP?
Number 5 only.
Number 5 only. Okay, so just so I'm clear, the postponement of number 4 is for us to see the rubric of how that transpired. And now for the supplemental RFP is when we're going to have this discussion.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. Why can't the mayor's team meet with the superintendent and her staff and our attorney, go over everything before September 7th, and then have the answer for us for that meeting?
That's a terrific idea.
We could just lay this over on the table, let them discuss, make sure everything's correct, and then bring it to us on the 7th. They can come if they like still, but if we have the answers and the mayor's and the superintendent work together and come up with a solution.
And Mr. Chairman,
That sounds like a separate motion.
perfect motion that's being made, and that's all I want to do. They have been working on this, and they've been in communication, I believe. I think Mr. Slattery and Mr. Mareshi have been in communication with Mr. New and the superintendent, and there's a few questions that need to be answered. And just, I know there's some cross debate with my colleagues regarding Mr. Galvin working for me as the mayor, a member of the school committee. Let me be clear, Mr. Galvin has also been the attorney for the school committee the last, how many years, Mr. Galvin?
2.5.
2.5.
And how's that relevant?
It's relevant that well, let's not get into why it's relevant. This,
Okay.
Yeah, let's not do that.
it is relevant.
Ms. Murray?
I'd like to say that I think Member Sarni's suggestion is an excellent one. I think that it makes a lot more sense, rather than parading people through one of our meetings, to let the adults handle things behind the scenes so that we can move forward extracurricular activities for our students as quickly as possible. We're not talking about the general aftercare program. We're talking about supplemental things that are going to be added on to the aftercare program. I think it's super important that we're making sure that our kids have access to anything that we can give them that will open opportunities. And I really think that the faster we can get out of the way of this and let the kids participate in, you know, after school robotics or agriculture or whatever it is that we can bring in as additions to both our after school care and our during the day care, is in the best interest of our families and our communities. So I just want to second Ms. Sarni's motion.
Mr. Chairman, let me also be clear. Mr. Chairman, let me also be clear, since everyone's making political statements this evening. The after-school program has been a cornerstone of this administration for many, many years, and it still will be. And providing activities for our children is something that we've always done. All I've asked,
Right.
like the city solicitor, the procurement officer, those who have been working
Right,
on
and there's a motion before us.
from some of the other members of the school committee.
No,
making
she has the right to speak also on the matter too, and explain it. And
I have the right to speak also to get what I need to get.
And no one has stopped you from speaking tonight.
Has your family not been part of working for the school department for many years? You've been working for the school committee for 2.5 years. Your father wasn't the attorney.
Can
for
we
the
call for
school
order,
for you?
please?
Okay.
Yeah,
Point
this
of
is
personal
completely out of
privilege, this is
order.
out of order.
Completely out of order.
It's not relevant. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the item before us.
Yeah.
Call for the question, please.
Actually, I'm going to recognize Ms. Lambert, who had her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So anybody that had the opportunity to have their student or watch any of the enrichment programs that happened this summer, such as Elevating Agricultural Technology, which I had the complete privilege of seeing this group of students that spent 9 weeks of their summer working with professionals in the engineering, working with local groups, to see them learn from failures, to see them look at community issues, look at broader issues such as supply chain failures and what that means for our community. And these are our students. So if you look at that, that is exactly what this is. So when I read the supplemental RFP this afternoon, I understood that this was very much separate. It allows us flexibility. It allows us also equity between our schools, because then we can cycle through. We can have the EHCC provide their French language and culture programs in 4-week segments to each school, not just one school, increasing accessibility. We can have theater programs. We can have things that introduce students. And again, that spark comes when they're introduced, it's accessible, it's in their home, local, neighborhood school. These are the things we need. I'm not saying nobody was providing it, but I'm saying they were limited. This goes from K through 12. This opens up opportunities for our high school students. It's a different RFP. That was why I was fully in favor of accepting it before this devolved, and it did devolve. And so I just wanted to make that point, because it's two very different things. And when I look at our high school students and what we've been able to provide them through our own network, but then connecting them to the broader community only benefits them, whether it's high school, whether it's middle school. Traditionally, we have not had those opportunities. So I just wanted to say my piece since everybody else got to.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, we have 3 motions before us, 2 to postpone, which I'll take in order. And then the third one, if postponement does fail, is a favorable action. So just to clarify, the first motion is to postpone next week, inviting the city solicitor, the assistant city solicitor, the purchasing director, and it was amended to include Mr. Galvin as the school committee attorney. The second motion is to postpone until next Tuesday, the 7th, asking that all the parties that I just mentioned meet prior to the meeting and review the contract, amend as needed, and then the third, should postponement fail, is to move for favorable action on the approval of the supplementary programming RFP as presented. Ms. Cadillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On in the lieu of what we've just discussed.
You're on mute, Tony.
In lieu of what we just discussed, I'm willing to withdraw my motion on the first postponement. I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Now I'm in. So what we have before us is 2 motions. One is to postpone as recommended by Ms. Sani, and I believe it was Ms. Lambert that seconded. And then is the vote, no? Okay, seconded. And then is the vote to move for favorable action. So with that, for postponement, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that I understand what we are voting for. This motion is the motion that Ms. Sarnia did, or the motion that the mayor did?
The Ms. Sani, which is to postpone to our next meeting and
And the parties.
have all the parties meet prior to work out the language, discuss the legitimacy of the document, which I believe it is, and therefore, we'll have less questions.
And no one will be coming to present it to us. We already have a document that is being worked on by those folks prior to our next meeting.
Yeah,
Correct?
but
Right.
but all of them are welcome to attend, whether they're invited or not.
Right. Of course.
And then, if need be, we can invite them if they're present.
Sure, absolutely.
Ms. Murray.
Sorry, am I allowed to speak on the motion since I?
Well, we've given everybody multiple turns to speak tonight, so yes. And
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that regardless of who the primary after-school caregiver is, we're going to need supplemental RFPs because no one giver can give everything to our students that they can benefit from. So in my mind, it's more of a nuts and bolts figuring out how to make these smaller supplemental programs happen rather than worrying about its relationship with the main, other than Ms. Cardello's important point about making sure that our children in the main after-school program didn't lose their seats or lose their vouchers if they chose to participate in one of the supplemental ones. And that was the only point I was making earlier, was regardless of who the aftercare giver was, it's important to bring in supplemental programs so that our kids can get exposed to all kinds of experiences, in my mind. Thank you.
Call for the question.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The only issue I have is not that I don't want to continue to give all the after-school services or more. I believe it may have to be withdrawn. You can't put an RFP out to do after-school services and then do another RFP for supplemental services for after-school programming. That could be seen as bid splitting, and that's my only issue here. You just can't put an RFP out for after-school services and then decide you want to do more supplemental RFPs, after-school services. That could be viewed as bid splitting, and that's all. I mean, we had an issue like that with Glendale Park at one time, where we had someone wanted to do the field, and then we put something else out to do something different. You have to do it all encompassing, one bid to provide all these services, whatever it may be: arts, music, culinary, scratch kitchens, gardening classes, music classes. I'm for all of that. But if you're going to put RFP for after-school services, it has to be one RFP for all those services, and someone has to bid on it. That's it. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am that wrong. So that's the issue that the assistant city solicitor had. We're going to discuss that more. We will discuss that with the superintendent and we'll come in and we'll talk about it. But that was my only issue. Okay, so I don't have a problem, Mr. Galvin, but I understand he works for a school committee. I get that. I'm a member of the school committee, but I'm also the mayor of the city of Everett. And I have the city solicitor appointed by me, approved by the city council to represent the actions that I take. That's all I was saying.
Can I call for the question now, please?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lambert, I wasn't done speaking. So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to just let you know that's the issue I'm seeing. I've seen issues of bid splitting before, and I'm not saying that anyone's doing this intentionally. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing, and that's why I was at. And we will. I think Cynthia's a school committee woman, Sarni's motion is the most appropriate. That we should get together with the school administration and talk this out before next meeting. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so there's a motion to call for the question. Can I get a second on that? All those in favor of calling the question? Okay.
Aye.
All right, so the motion before us is to postpone the item till next Tuesday, the 7th. For the sake of time, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, the chair's in doubt. All those in favor of postponing, please rise. Okay, rise wins. You have postponed this matter to September 7th, and that's item number 5 only. Well, that's regarding item number 5 postponing. Okay, item number 6, please.
So item number 6 is to request approval to close the following student activity accounts and disperse the closing balance to remaining student activity accounts. The discretionary account with the closing balance of $113.68. The second one is lacrosse with a closing balance of $0, and the science club with a closing balance of $117.81.
Motion, please. Hi.
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
On the motion?
Okay, on the motion, Ms. Murray?
Sorry, I was muted. Does this mean that there will be no science club this year and that there will be no lacrosse this year? Because there was the option to roll it over or hold it until those began again. So I was just wondering if this means that those two things are now no, or?
No, this is particular to student activity account. So if a student activity account is not active for a certain amount of time, then we, again, just to keep things clean, we close it. And again, student activity accounts, you don't have to have a student activity account to have an activity. Student activity accounts are specifically for bringing in money and then using that money for that same activity. So this is totally separate from the activities themselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dasani?
Thank you. When closing the accounts with the balances, where is this money moving to? What item, line item?
So to other student activity accounts, are you asking which specific ones? I actually don't know, but we can call up the chief financial officer if you like.
It's a small amount. I was just wondering where it was, if it was going to another.
Yeah, so we would disperse it to another account, one that's been active. And generally what we do is disperse them equally. So, I mean, it's going to be a nominal amount in all of them. So, but if you wanted a list of all of them and the amount that each one will, okay. But we can.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure where it was going, if it was going to another activities rather than.
And there's always also the option to reopen a student activity account if that group, for any reason, starts to collect funds.
Ms. Cadillo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So who actually oversees these accounts when they are active? Is it the principals or the head of the departments or?
So currently it is the school department. In the past it was, actually Mr. Nauman at the high school does oversee quite a few of them because they are all high school related. But then we also the school department also works with Mr. Nauman to ensure that everything is happening smoothly.
Okay. Is it necessary that they have all these different accounts? I'm just going to use like the chess club. They want to go into a tournament. It costs money. They need to raise money to pay to get into a tournament. Do they have to have an account in order to do that?
It is best to have an account, again, just so that we can keep very clean lines on what money is brought in for and the fact that it is spent on that exact thing. There have been other districts that have had issues with their student activity accounts being more general and then not being able to track whether or not the money was spent on what it was originally intended to be spent on. And so that's what we always want to be very careful of. And just to answer your question too, it's not only Mr. Nauman, but there's also a teacher and student rep on every account. And again, that is somebody who's actively involved in that activity. So they have, they definitely have a vested interest in making sure that those monies goes towards that activity. So for example, prom, you don't necessarily want prom money to be going to lacrosse. You want to make sure that people are spending money and that's where it's going.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you recall, student activity accounts were a subject of the, I think it was the 2004, 2005 state audit. If I can from the chair, I mean, we're talking $231.49. There's a senior class account. Proms are expensive. So you just could consider that as opposed to throwing a couple of bucks here and there. So we do have a motion before us for favorable action on item number 6. See no further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so you have moved favorable action on number 6. Number 7, please.
Item number 7 is to request approval of our rental agreement policy. So as you can see highlighted, the only change was the increase in the overtime amount that a custodian would receive for an outside rental. And that increase is due to contractual obligations.
Favorable action on the order?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded for favorable action on item number 7. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. You have approved the updated rental agreement. Number 8, please.
Item number 8 is to request approval of the flip chart for school safety response and the emergency operation plans. So school district leaders met with representatives from the Everett Police Department and the Everett Fire Department on Friday, August 20th, as is required. And at this meeting, we reviewed scenarios that could happen in any emergency situation to ensure that our own guidance was updated. Our plan is based on the ALICE system, which is the lockdown procedure. There were no changes to the plans themselves except to change names and phone extensions on page 5.
Favorable action on the order?
Actually, I make,
Okay, so is the motion made for favorable action? Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I could open it for debate. Ms. Lambert.
I was going to make a motion to send it to the policy subcommittee. However, because I had 2 concerns, and I know that these weren't part of the changes, but I think we've been talking a lot about policy, and as we go back, there were 2 in particular that I had identified just based on feedback. One was the death of a student or staff. So I've had feedback, and unfortunately we have had tragedies in the past, fortunately none so recent, but there's specific language in there that you go back to normal as soon as possible, and that specifically was a lot of the feedback I received is that there wasn't enough acknowledgement. It was very much kind of breezed by, and there is policy out there from the National Center for Student Crisis, as well as other policies that I think we can look at to be more cognizant. I think we can also invite our partners from Elliott that do work, as well as our mental health counselors to look at. It was feedback from both staff and students, so I think it's important to just look at holistically. And then there was another piece that in the school safety response that references it's a whole policy for out of control students. And I just think that's too subjective, because it doesn't really define what an out of control student is. And I think it just leaves too much gray area. So that was why I was going to make the motion to send it to the policy subcommittee so we could take a deeper dive and look at that. Yeah, but there's one on the floor. So I make a motion to send it to the policy subcommittee.
I second it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the item? There's 2 matters before us. One is to refer to the subcommittee on policy. I forget the full name, policy and procedures, I believe. And the second is for favorable action. The subcommittee takes precedent. So the motion before you is to refer this to the, I'm trying to see, here we go. Rules, policies, and procedures, which is Ms. Sani's the chairperson. It also consists of Ms. Debrizay and Mr. Barros. So the motion before us is to refer us to the subcommittee on rules, policies, and procedures. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. We will refer the matter to the appropriate subcommittee.
On that subcommittee, I'd like to invite Ms. Lambert.
Yeah. So, next item of business, please.
Yes, item number 9 is to request approval of the updated head injury concussion policy. So this policy was reviewed by Ms. Tammy Pernard, the Director of Athletics, Health and Physical Education, as well as our athletic trainer. There were some changes to the policy, which were highlighted in yellow. The major change is that emergency room physicians or an urgent care physician cannot clear a student to return to a sport following a head injury. It must be their own physician.
Motion to accept?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept the updated head injury concussion policy. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? You have moved for favorable action and you have approved the updated head injury concussion policy. Next item, please.
Item number 10 is to request approval for Everett Women's Volleyball to use the Lafayette School on Wednesday, September 8th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. for volleyball signups.
Accept the approval?
Second.
Second.
Okay, and this will be subject to the new rental agreement, correct?
I don't know that we're charging.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, they've been with us for a long time too. Okay, so there was a motion made and seconded for favorable action. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. You have moved for favorable action and approved the women's volleyball. Next item, please.
Item number 11 is to request approval for the Everett Adult Learning Center to use 10 classrooms at Everett High School to provide adult literacy classes in ESL, which is also something that they have been doing for several years.
Favorable action, Mr. Chairman?
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for favorable action on the Adult Learning Center's use of 10 classrooms at Everett High School. Any questions, comments? Ms. Cardillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to have that computer training for parents, adults again this year? That was a great program.
Technology to go? Yes.
Right.
Yes,
We
we'll
will
be
be-
continuing.
So that will be coming out soon, maybe after this. And this is a great program
In
too.
conjunction with this,
In
yeah.
conjunction.
So, I mean, yeah, we're going to have multiple programs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I, on the motion? I just want to say on behalf of the Everett Adult Learning Center, this has been a tremendous asset for our community. We provide this service for our residents for a long time. And there are a lot of residents that are actually learning the English language right here in Everett, which is truly a wonderful thing. And I want to thank you all for allowing them to continue to operate here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, you move favorable action on number.
Number 12 is to request approval for the American Culinary Federation, or the ACF, the Epicurean Club of Boston, to meet monthly at Everett High School, which they have asked to do, and our teachers are very excited about that opportunity.
Move favorable action.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for favorable action on item number 12. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. You have, motion passes.
Item number 13 is to request acceptance of a donation from Form Labs in Somerville of 20 desk chairs for students, 2 desk chairs for teachers, 3 standing tables, and 2 sitting chairs. And these items were all donated to be used in our marketing program at Everett High School.
Accept the donation with a letter of thanks?
Second.
We have a motion before us. I beat you to it, Mr. Barrows. You live to say you're on mute. Motion before us to accept the donation with a letter of thanks. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have moved favorable action. The motion passes. Next item, please.
Item number 14 is to request acceptance of a donation of school supplies from Encore Boston. So Encore Boston generously held a back-to-school donation drive this month, through which they were able to receive a variety of back-to-school items, ranging from paper towels, Kleenex, folders, scissors, markers, and many other items. These items were collected from Encore this afternoon and will be distributed to our students shortly, and we want to thank them for their generosity.
Make a motion for acceptance and a letter of thanks.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Just another benefit of having an Encore in Everett, as opposed to just having a community host agreement, as they support our schools. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. You accept the donation from Encore. Motion passed.
Item number 15 is to request the acceptance of wipes from Sheila Soto, Lowe's of Saugus, Massachusetts. Ms. Soto donated 5 pallets of wipes to the Everett Public Schools, and these wipes will be used by our students and teachers to disinfect their desks.
Make a motion to accept and send a letter of thanks.
Second.
Okay. Seeing no one wants to be recognized, I'll ask that a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have accepted the donation, and a letter of thanks will be sent.
Thank you. Item number 16 is to request acceptance of donation of wipes from Paul LeBlanc, CEO of Zogix. Paul LeBlanc, CEO, has generously donated 5 pallets of wipes to the Everett Public Schools, which will also be used by our students and teachers to disinfect their desks.
Accept the donation with a letter of thanks.
Second.
Okay, seeing no questions or anybody wants to be recognized, I'll ask for a voice vote to move favorable action and send a letter of thanks on the acceptance of the donation from Mr. Paul LeBlanc, CEO of Zogix. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? So moved. You have accepted.
Thank you. So on to Roman numeral 6, items submitted by school committee members. And the first item is submitted by Chairman Parker, which is the receipt of 2 communications from the Division of Open Government, both dated August 20th, 2021.
So just bear with me for a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So actually, it probably should have read receipt of the 2 emails that I forwarded to you, because it actually consists of 7 different rulings or 7 different recommendations regarding some of the alleged open meeting violations. So the purpose of having this on the calendar tonight is that if we could just take a roll call vote, and each person can, acknowledge their receipt of these items. I think that'll help us for future matters. So, so simply roll call vote. They say your name, yes, you received them, or no, that you didn't.
Mr. Abraze,
Yes, I received the communications.
Mr. Barros,
Yes, I have received as well.
Ms. Cardello,
Yes, I have received the communications.
Mayor DeMaria,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Panarisi,
Yes, I did receive them.
Ms. Sarni,
Yes.
Chairman Parker.
Yes. So 9 of the members who are in attendance tonight, because Mr. LaMonica has a prior commitment, have acknowledged that they have received the communications from the Division of Open Government. And thank you for your time on that matter.
Item number 2 is alleged open meeting law complaints as filed by Mr. Stephen Fitzgerald on July 21st, July 26th, and July 30th, 2021, also submitted by Chairman Parker.
If someone could make a motion on the floor to refer this matter to myself and Ms. Canty, Director of Human Resources.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, on the motion?
Mr. DeMaria, I'm sorry, Mayor DeMaria.
That's okay. We were very successful in lobbying the Attorney General's office or the IGAG's office regarding Mr. Fitzgerald on his open meeting law violations that he continuously harass us at the city government with. And we, I don't think, have to deal with him anymore. You may want to talk to Colleen about that, how the city council went about it.
Yeah, it's a point well taken.
Because, you know, he was the gentleman who was he was Ed Forrester. That was him. So,
okay.
Just want to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe have a conversation with the city solicitor and see what they did regarding.
so on these three, we got an extension until September 27th, I believe. So we'll also, at this point, because the last time that you voted in favor of myself and Ms. Canty to respond, we responded to 100 pages worth of complaints.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's time to... Yeah, it's also time to pull in Mr. Galvin on this end and just come up with a system that works. So, so the motion is made and seconded to refer this matter to myself and Ms. Canty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. You have moved for favorable action on that matter. Next item, please.
Item number 3 is to discuss policy specific to attendance, and that was submitted by Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. So you did address in the superintendent update a piece of what has come up from families and students alike as far as what will the quarantine period look like, what, you know, so logistically there's that. But then there's the other piece where if a parent wants to err on the side of caution, and we do hope that they do, where a child is not feeling well, they're not sure, and they choose not to send them to school, there is a significant fear, and it stems a little bit from processes and policies where we have to report up to DESE, and then there's a procedure. Parents have received letters in the mail that mention court, and that can be extremely frightening for folks. Is there a way, and so I guess I can refer this to the administration, is there a way that we can classify absences as potential COVID or cautionary, so that parents are able to best make the decisions, not just for their student, but also their classroom, their teacher, their community, and keep them home without fear of necessarily that there any repercussions?
Yes, that's actually a great question. And we are, working with DESE to ensure that some of the flexibilities that we received last year that we'll receive this year too. We do have several different options. There is the option for example, during quarantine, the state, even though we're not allowed to provide a remote learning academy, we are allowed to provide remote learning during that time. And so the amount of discretion that we have in order to signal a student as virtually present is something that we are looking into. And we are also looking into, of course, we have to follow any regulations, but those have been loosened in the past year. And so we are hoping that we will have those flexibilities. And if for some reason we did not, we would certainly make sure that families had a lot of notice, if anything we were needing to report anything. But again, I think that those flexibilities will last. I think that, as we enter this next year after COVID, kind of like last year, we're going to see how these flexibilities kind of change depending on what we do see in the schools around Massachusetts. But I can't imagine that there won't be some flexibility afforded. And just on our own end here in the administration, we are definitely going to do, as we did last year, our due diligence in making sure that we're communicating with families and that we're supporting students who may have to be out for one reason or another, to make sure that they're, getting the access that they need to the curriculum so that those kind of issues don't come up.
Excellent. Thank you. I will refer to the administration for further policy review.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion made and seconded to refer the matter to the superintendent and her staff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. You referred item number 3 to the superintendent and her staff. Number 7 is subcommittee reports.
Yes, Roman numeral 7, we have a subcommittee report, 2 of them. Item number 1 is the superintendent evaluation subcommittee from August 3rd, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. And number 2 is the superintendent evaluation subcommittee from August 25th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m.
Okay, Ms. Murray. As the chairman of the subcommittee, if the proper motion would be to accept the minutes as written and have them placed on file.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written and have them placed on file.
I'll second.
that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Roman numeral number 8, please.
Roman numeral 8 is bills and payrolls.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve bills and payrolls in the amount of $326,101.23.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is made and seconded to approve bills and payrolls in the amount of $326,101.23. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Abraze,
Yes.
Mr. Barros,
Yes.
Ms. Cardello,
Yes.
Mayor Di Maria,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Panarisi,
Yes.
Ms. Sarni,
Yes.
Chairman Parker.
Yes, 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. You have approved bills and payrolls. Ms. Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pay bills and payrolls in the amount of $326,101.23.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to pay bills and payrolls in the amount of $326,101.23. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Abraze,
Yes.
Mr. Barros,
Yes.
Ms. Cardello,
Yes.
Mayor Di Maria,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Panarisi,
Yes.
Ms. Sarni,
Yes.
Chairman Parker.
Yes, 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. You have moved favorable action to pay bills and payrolls. Okay. If the superintendent could read the next item on the calendar, which is Roman numeral 12.
Yes. So Roman numeral 12 is matters for executive session, and we do have one item today, which is discussion and strategy with respect to litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body in the chair, so declares pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3. And this is in regards to an ETA grievance.
Make a motion to go to executive session, and we'll end our meeting in executive session as well.
A second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded to go into executive session. And we will adjourn in executive session as the matter is discussion of strategy with respect to litigation. If one meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to wit the ETA grievances. So to go into executive session, I will need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Abraze,
Yes.
Mr. Barros,
Yes.
Ms. Cardello, Mayor Di Maria,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Panarisi,
Yes.
Ms. Sarni,
Yes.
Chairman Parker.
Yes, 8 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. We are now moving into executive session. So are we shutting down and getting a new invite? Okay, but we're no longer on Facebook, correct?
1 second.
Okay. Let's wait. Hold on.
All right, you guys aren't on Facebook now.
We are still recording. Should we stop the recording as well? I think we are going to be using this.
Like a 15-minute recess and just get up and move around while they pull the stuff together.